So, as the sniper is an opening repertoire against 1e4, it's also an opening repertoire against 1d4, it's also an opening repertoire against 1c4, it's also an opening repertoire against 1f4, or 1g3, in fact it's an opening repertoire against everything. So, how is it possible to condense all of this into one DVD? Well, I have spent a lot of time making sure I can do that, and I've just weeded out all of the poor moves that black can play. So let's have a look when he can play the pure sniper and when he has to play a dirty anti-sniper. So this is my introduction. First introduction is, it's going to be spanned over 3 different introductions, and that's because I am covering, as I said, a lot of different opening systems, if you like. So let's get on with it. So there's e4, and after e4 I could flip this board here. Should I flip it? So I'll flip the board. So we're going to try and look at it from black's perspective, but I'm going to be extremely objective, and I'm going to be trying to smash the sniper as well, if possible. So the best way to look at this is to look at it all from black's perspective. Let's forget about what white's going to play. Let's have a look what black is going to play. He's going to play g6, forget about white's move, second move, forget about white's first 3 moves for the time being. That's the structure we're aiming for. As you can see, we have great pressure on the d4 square. So there's pressure there, and there's pressure from the bishop. And that is your basic sniper setup. Doesn't matter what white plays. So assuming white doesn't play an anti-sniper, we're going to do that, and that's the pure sniper. But there's another way to get to this pure sniper position. Let's have a look at it. So if I just go to the start position again, I play g6 once again, and then forget about what white does. Now c5 can be played instead of bishop g7, and then whatever white plays, and then we have transposed into a pure sniper, which is good. And there's one other way we can get to this 3-move position for black, and that is by playing c5 first, g6, and then bishop g7. So that looks all a little bit peculiar, that there's 3 different ways to get our first 3 moves in. But in the main, I will be going for the first one, which is g6, bishop g7 and c5. So that's what this DVD is about. It's about trying to get these 3 moves in against almost anything white does, and as you will see, around about 75 to 80% black can actually do that and get a very good position, and a good position that doesn't have much theory on it. Now, because I'm covering lots of opening systems, or the equivalent of lots of opening systems, against 1e4, 1d4, 1c4, 1f4, etc., etc., then it gets a little bit confusing, especially as if we try to classify them using ECO keys. It's not good to use ECO keys for the sniper, because it may come via 1c5. It may come via 1g6, the position, and there's other transpositional difficulties when you're trying to use ECO keys. So I've come up with a better way of classifying things in the sniper: Premiership football teams. I love football. I'm a football coach, and I'm a good player. In fact, when I was 12 I could do 10,000 kick-ups. But enough about my football exploits. Most people don't believe that, by the way, but it's true. And I am going to show you the main variations that I've got here, named after Premiership football teams, and not just that, the white opening system is also representative of their style, or it was at their football style in 2015, the start of that season. You'll see why I've mentioned that in a moment. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these key variations with these key football names. So the first one is, we're going to have a look at the Manchester United variation. What's that, I hear you say? Well, I'm going to show you. So we're going to have a look at e4, g6, d4. And I just have to stop you there a minute, because we've got the dynamic duo here. We've got Batman and Robin, e4 and d4. This is the main line of the sniper. It makes sense for white to occupy the centre. He's occupying and controlling the centre, and so he should if he gets the opportunity to do it. Black is going to play bishop g7. It's currently a modern system. Black is hoping to attack the centre from a distance and then at an appropriate moment advance his central pawns into the centre and win the centre and then win the game. That's the main idea of the sniper. And now we have a number of third move alternatives. We could play knight c3, we could play knight f3, we could play bishop e3, we could play c4, we could play f4. In fact, there's lots of moves there, but the ones I've just said are the main moves. And because they're the main moves and the best moves, I've given them names. And their names are based, as I said, on the football team and their styles. And this is to help you orient, whatever that word means, around the position. So we've got, let's start with the Manchester United variation. Now knight c3, this is, when I first wrote the book on the sniper, this or knight f3 was the main line. Now this is the Manchester United variation. That's all I'm going to tell you for now. We're going to look at this in a bit more depth later on. So if I just take that back, there is also the Manchester City variation, very aggressive variation, lots of attacking flair that white can try and use, but black has resources. So we take that back at the third move here. Now I suppose I should just mention here, it doesn't matter what white does here, black is probably going to play c5 to complete his development. But we're looking at the names of some of these. Here's the Chelsea variation, and then of course we would play c5, and then we've got our sniper in. We could play, instead of the Chelsea variation, the Leicester variation, and here's a raw attacking move, pawn to h4, and once again we can still play c5. And there's the Newcastle variation, or the Newcastle United variation, which is pawn to c3. Now this is a clever move, and at the time Newcastle United were in the Premiership. Sadly they're no longer in the Premiership, they got relegated, and the reason I called it c3 because at the time it was called the safe and no ambition variation. However, things have transpired that it's not so safe, as they did get relegated. I'm not saying that has anything to do with this variation, but that's what happened. Now there's some other third moves for white which don't have names. I haven't given them names because, well, they don't deserve it. So if I just take that back, now bishop e3 is another line, but I haven't given it a name because it's the equivalent of a lower league response. You can give it a name if you want, but I'm not giving it a name. And again, we've got our c5 sniper structure can come up against that. And that is quite a good overview of it. We've got one other thing, three more lines I want to show you. There's the 3 bishop c4 variation. That looks very aggressive, but I haven't given it a name. I didn't think it deserved one. It's not as important as the other variations which have names. The fact I'm giving them names should show you that they are what you would more likely consider to be the main lines, but you're getting it almost as an automatic way of understanding it because they've been given names. And there's g3. I haven't given that a name because it doesn't deserve one. But finally, and obviously Arsenal are the best football team in the world. I'm not biased as an Arsenal supporter. I was born in 1971. That was the year the Arsenal done the double. My name's Charlie Storey. Charlie George and Peter Storey played in that double winning team. I didn't realise that at the time, but when I got into football in 1978/79, I watched a couple of cup finals. Arsenal were involved in both of them. In the second one, they beat Manchester United 3-2 with a brilliant goal by Alan Sunderland. And I've been supporting Arsenal ever since, with a slight passion of hatred for Manchester United, which is a bit odd because I was born in Manchester. Yes, life's complicated, so is my football supporting history. Anyway, the main line is knight f3, and this knight f3 move forces black to play an anti-sniper, because now c5 is one of those positions where I don't recommend it anymore. Why? Because white can just take it, and it's not clear that black has full compensation. So the good news is black can just play d6 here. Now you might think, well, that's not a sniper, that's a perk, or a piet some people call it, and you'd be right, except I would like you just to have a look at this knight on f3. It has done something that white is not particularly happy about. It has blocked in the f-pawn's advance. So it is what I would call a harmless perk, or piets. So, do you have to worry about that? No. What you have to understand that in this DVD, I will be telling you when it is safe to play the pure sniper and when you have to play a different way of playing. In other words, not playing the move 3 c5. However, you might find that in a few moves time that c5 move might just come. Okay, so that's my first introduction. Welcome to the sniper.